Guys, here we are. This is episode 2 of our beat tape build. All right, we're putting together our beat tape. In this episode, what we're going to be doing is I'm going to be showing you how to track out your music from your machine. All right, this is for cats who make beats externally from a computer. Right, it's actually a good piece of knowledge to have. But so I'll just show you how to basically do that on the MPC, but I'll also show you some tricks, guys. I'll show you some tricks for you SP users, man, your SP404 users, or for you guys who haven't got outputs on the back or whatever it is that you're using, whether it's synths or whatever it is. I'll show you guys how to track out those machines, man. This isn't about mixing the nitty-gritty and all the technical stuff. Again, I'm using very basic equipment, man, so everybody else can do it, man. All right, guys, cool. So let's get into it. All right, guys. Alright, guys, so before we go any further, I have to give a couple of shout outs, man, to all those people who participated, man. I really appreciate it. Forgive me because I am reading off a piece of paper here, man, but I need to acknowledge you guys, man. I really need to acknowledge the effort you guys went to, man, just leaving comments and engaging, man, because I went off and used those that knowledge and that feedback for us to mold this. This is gonna be a good beat tape, man. So you know what I mean, like people like Asterisk Collective, man, just leaving his opinions, you know what I mean. John Doe, man, giving us our top 5, and that's with people like P and Leathrius, Kevin Chrysler, Yeah, Beats for Days, Not Thomas, you know, even somebody like DJ Chosen One, man, who I used to first saw him when we were periscoping with J Phil and all that for We Do Beats, man. Shout outs to J Phil, man. It won't be the first shout out for him, that's for sure, man. So you know, I just want to thank everybody, man. I really do, man. I really appreciate you guys participating, because I really am doing this with you guys. If I wasn't doing it with you guys, I've been making my own projects, doing my own thing, you know what I mean? But even like Jason Nelson, man, leaving some kind words, all that stuff, man. I really appreciate it, guys. So just I gotta give you guys, you know, it's only a minute and a half, but at least I have to acknowledge, man. I have to acknowledge, man. So thanks, man. Thanks, guys, for participating. All right, cool. Okay, man. So I tallied things up, all right, and we have made a couple of cuts, man. We've made a couple of cuts. We've made the 5 cuts. We're left with 15 beats. We may draw a wild card in if we need the extra time, but right for now, it looks like we don't need it. We've cut 5, man. Let me just show you what we've done, all right? So here is our playlist, our hot list, and the ones that I've circled are the ones that I have scrapped. Now you can see, you know what I mean? I was taking some votes, something like Heated, you know what I mean? There were opinions here. People didn't want that. Some of them I sort of made a call on it as well, and some of them cancelled out, you know what I mean? But because the opinions were like, people were on the fence about them, I scrapped it, man. So we've made our first cut, you know what I mean? If you guys have made a list, it's a good idea to get a second opinion, man, just like I did, you know what I mean? And I also took the time to step away from it, come back a couple of days later, and just reflect a little bit on it, man. So this is our list. Heated, Hills, no chances. FML and Steels are gone, man. I'll put up the new playlist, the new track list in the description, all right? So we can keep track of what's good, man, what's good. All right. All right, now we're going to move on now to bouncing our beats out. We're going to set up the computer. We're going to set up our board. We're going to do all that stuff, a bit of cable management, all that, and then we're going to track out our beat. I'm going to show you guys how I do it. Now, just a disclaimer here. I have got some Flintstone equipment, all right, man. I have not got the latest stuff. I lack plugins and all that stuff. I am doing it with the most minimal of stuff, man. So you guys should be able to do it, man. The only benefit of my sound card is that it's got a few more outputs. The downside is that the MPC 1000, it comes with 4 outputs, which kind of sucks, man. So I'll show you guys how to track out and how to do all that. But just a small disclaimer, my apologies. My equipment is old as. Alright, so forgive the shakiness of this and the poor quality, but look, I'm just gonna open up my Pro Tools. I'm using the cheap ass light edition. You see that? LE for limited edition, light edition, loser edition. Look at that, 6.4. My goodness gracious, that is old as. Anyway, so I'm gonna go to a new session, right? Now, if you look here, I've made a file, right? And this is just a little bit of file management for you guys, man. I've made a file. I did my test, you know what I mean? Just to make sure that everything was set up correctly. And then I went and I bounced my first beat. Now I've already done that. So I'm going to make another one now, right? And this is going to be the name of each beat. I'm going to make a file, right? A separate file for each beat. I'm not going to have all the beats on the one file. The reason is because I want to save on the CPU. You know what I mean? I want to be gentle on my CPU. This is an old ass computer. This is how I have to do it. But it also allows me to be a little bit more generous when it comes to plugins and that sort of stuff. Even though I have no plugins. All right, man. So this one was called Drunken, right? And another little thing that I want to do is, let me just show you this. I want to go to the beat, right, that I have here. You see on my MPC. And I also want to look at this. See that? It's 88 beats per minute. So when I go back here, in the name, I also want to put, sorry, I'm shaking, 88, right? I want to know how fast it is, man, because when I open this up, right, when I open up this this file, I want to do it, you know, when I'm bouncing them out. Sorry, man, I'm all over the place. When I'm bouncing the beats out, I want to ensure that I'm bouncing them out, and I'm going to set them up on the SP404 for my mixing later on. I need to set them up so that they can kind of play one after the other. Do you know what I mean? So I can mix them well. If I'm jumping to different BPMs, it's gonna suck, man. You know what I mean? The mixing's gonna be different. You'll sort of know what I mean a little later on. All right, so I'm gonna put the name here, right? Put the name there. The frame rate, the sample rate is gonna be at 44,000. 16-bit is fine, right? I'm gonna put this on the internet. 16-bit is fine. 24-bit. You know, if you're gonna rock stadiums, you know what I mean, and you're gonna rock big rooms, it's that, go for 24-bit, you know what I mean. That way you get a little bit more depth, and the 6 on the gain is enough for me, man. That's it. All right, guys. All right, let's keep moving on. Next step, what I'm gonna do is I'm looking at the tracks right now on my MPC. I can see how many layers I have, right? Quite simply by just going here, and I see that I have 7. All right, 7 tracks is what I need to put on this, man. So I'm just gonna go here, go to new track. I'm gonna have probably about 4 mono ones. Sorry, man, you guys are bouncing around there. 4 mono tracks, and I'm going to put 3 what do you call it, stereo tracks. All right, I'm just gonna go ahead and do that. Now, why am I going mono and stereo? Why wouldn't I just go stereo, right? The reason is because I like to mix a couple of I like to fidget around with both of them, man, because the signal, the way it sort of fills the room, is going to be different from mono to stereo. You know what I'm saying? Something like the bass it's gonna be a single tone. It's, you know what I mean, without effects. It's played in mono. My hi-hat, I want it to be mono. There's no, I mean, yeah, stereo hi-hat, I mean, no, you know what I mean. It's gonna be a lot easier if I'm just mixing it on mono, so that I can move them around, I could pan them a little bit left and right, just avoid as much clashing as possible, man. All right, so that's why I'm using mono and stereo. Cool. Now, here's something that confused me, and I just sort of went with it, right? It's got output here. Output 1, 2, 3, and 4. They're all mono. And my stereo output is over here, right? These two bad boys here. There's two silver bad boys there. They're stereo. Now, on my sound card, which is up here, this old ass Digi 001, this thing right here, my stereo is this. These two. Forgive me, I know I got the light there, alright? But this is my stereo. My left stereo, my right stereo. They are not necessarily mono when you put them together. That's my understanding. This has inputs on the back. And the inputs on the back of this are mono. Do you know what I'm saying? Here's the thing. This is channel 1, channel 2. And on the back, I've got channel 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Right, sorry, this is my patch bay. I'm just giving you an example. Again, this is 1 and 2. They come together to form my stereo. But on the back of my MPC, channel 1 and 2 is actually mono. So I don't want to run channel 1 and 2 into channel 1 and 2 here. There's a difference. Do you know what I'm saying? Now, in risk of sounding like a complete buffoon, right? My understanding of mono and stereo is that obviously they're different, but that there is a difference between a stereo signal, which is 2 like that, and how it emits the sound compared to having 2 mono sounds. You know what I'm saying? My understanding is that in a true stereo sound, the sphere that it puts out, the sphere of sound that it puts out is different to the 2 mono signals, right? Meaning that it doesn't create a full dome when you put the 2 channels in, the 2 monos. It's basically creating 2 mini domes and sort of putting them together like that and giving you the impression that there is like a bigger sort of space. But really, you could separate those and end up with a gap in the center. With stereo, apparently it doesn't work like that. When you've got the 2 signals, they almost form like a half shell. That sounds stupid. Let's try that again. If you have the stereo signal, they both come together to form a rainbow of sound. Right? Look at me. All right. Now, I'm pretty sure I sound like an idiot right now. If I'm wrong, could you please leave a comment? That'd be fantastic. If you can elaborate or explain better and you can articulate better and more effectively this idea of 2 monos being separate to having a single stereo, that'd be fantastic, man. That'll really help, especially for people that come back to this video who need to learn. So, alright guys, so this is my process, right? On this machine, I go to my first track and I look at my step edit, which tells me what buttons are being triggered, which here is button number 7 and A3, right? Which is pad, this is bank A. I got 7 and 3, right? I then go into the output settings of this, which is in my mixer, and there's a line out right there. Hit number 7 and hit number 3, you see, and I flick them over to channel 1, right? That's how I get the signal escaping this machine on my channel outs here. Now, this is what I do on Pro Tools, right? I'm ready to record 4 of them at a time, or 5, whatever. I go here, I pick my inputs. Input 3, 4, 5, 6. Alright? So I've got them all in order here. Again, because my stereo is number 1 and 2. Alright? Okay, man. We good? Alright, we're good. So check this out. If I press this, it's coming up here. Don't ask me why it's on analog 6, alright? It's just like that because I kept channel 3 and 4. I kept them true, It's only channel 1 and 2 is actually 5 and 6 on this. Again, because of the routing problem. One thing you can do is trigger this. If you go up the top and just turn it and just see what channel it comes up in. Alright? Alright. Cool. Go over here. I gotta bring it down a little bit because it's peaking. Still peaking. Bring it down a bit more. There, it's not peaking anymore. The thing is, guys, with this sound card, you can only work the gain, right? Meaning the input signal, right? You can only work the gain here in channel 1 and 2. You can't do it with the ones on the back, so I gotta manually do it here. You know what I mean? How much is coming out. Alright? So that's all I'm doing. I'm working through a process here. Let's take a breather. The process is simple. I'm going into the pad that I'm hitting, the track. I'm looking for the track output. Once I find the track output, I'm making sure that I flick it to a channel. I'm going to my Pro Tools and I'm going into the inputs of that, looking for the channel. Alright, so they marry it up and I get a signal. Adjust the gain, and I'm ready to record that track. Alright, and I go through and I do it to as many inputs as I can, as many inputs as my MPC has. Okay, cool. Okay, so the last thing we need to set up is we need to set up the trigger. What is going to start playing all these tracks at the same time, right? Because if we're recording multiple tracks in multiple times, right? Not just this one's off, but I need to come back because I'm running out of outputs. I need the trigger at the same time. The way to do that is using MIDI. All right. There'll be some of you guys, man, that just be skipping over this stuff, man. Not a problem. What I've done is I've connected the MIDI output of my MPC into the MIDI input of my sound card, and I've connected the MIDI input of the MPC into the output of that. So just opposites. I've got both cables connected, right? In this program, there is a section there that says MIDI, went into MIDI, and it's always the clock, MIDI clock. Just made sure that the sound card was selected. All right, it's not very complicated. It's not very complicated. It should recognize it, man. There's a lot of tutorials out there on Pro Tools and how to use it and all that sort of stuff. But for us, all I need it for is so that it triggers at the same time. Okay? Let me give you an example of how it does that. Alright, so I'll just quickly go to tempo and make sure that the tempo is set at 88. Alright, just make sure you do that. So my tempo is set at 88, that's how it's going to count it. And if you look down here, they're all being armed, okay? They all have the record button ready. I've set the record button up there. My MIDI is going to trigger it, right? So check this out. I just press play there, right, on my MPC. But here on this one, when I press play, it's gonna start it again. See, and it's gonna start bouncing all those separate tracks, synchronized like that, right? Let me play it back here. I just stopped it. See? Now, the EQing's gonna be off. Alright, the EQing's gonna be off because I'm not really worried about the input signal. I'm just making sure that it's got enough in there. But I can do some quick mixing with the volumes a little bit later on, man. Alright? You can, if it's really annoying, you can bring the volumes up and down right then and there. But for me, I don't really worry about it. So all I'm gonna do, right, is I'm going to record it in for the 2.5 minutes that I said I would. Do you know what I'm saying? 2.5 minute mix. Now this isn't every single channel. Unfortunately, I've got all my drums. I've got a low pass there. This is the low pass, this one right here. But I haven't got all of my beat up here because I've ran out of inputs, all right? The essential one that you want to get is the drums. The essential ones you want to get are the drums, because then what you can do is you can jam all the rest of it on top, all right? Let me quickly explain that to you guys so that I can hit the record button and we can do a 2.5 minute freestyle on it, all right? Cool. Just before we hit, oh no, sorry. As we hit the record button and we start recording, all our tracks start playing, right? And all our tracks start recording. There are two things you need to do while this is happening. The first is that we are going to allow for a drum solo at the start. Just let the drums play at the start. And at the end, you're gonna let the drums play. Now you're gonna do this with the majority of your beats. The reason why is because it's awesome for mixing, right? We're thinking ahead here. I'm thinking ahead. I'm organizing the BPMs in the files, so I know how to put them on the SP, or I know how to, in what order to play, so that the tempo matches. With the tempo matching, we can match the drums. And with the drums matched, we can mix the drums. So what we can do is, instead of turning one song off and playing the next one, we can have the drums playing and start mixing the drums together like a proper DJ would. All right? We pull the samples out so that they don't get in the way of each other, they don't clash, and we don't run into problems. You know what I'm saying? Don't forget, when you're mixing an instrumental, if you don't want the drum solo at the end, you don't need it. You can just cut it off. But if you have it there, you can always mix. And mixing's always a better option, man. It always sounds better. Do you know what I'm saying? Not always, but the majority, 80% of the time, it sounds better. So, drums at the start, drums at the end. Or maybe some drums at the start, sample at the end. But you wanna bring in the beat layer by layer, and you wanna take out the beat layer by layer. All right? That's number one. Number two is cut out/jam your different tracks. Meaning, as the tracks are playing, the ones that you're recording, say for example, the drums, I go to my snare, add to it, jam with it. I'll be flicking through my snare, through my low pass, right? Let me go to my low pass. Just listen out. Sorry guys, listen out to this, right? Hear the low pass? Cutting it out, jamming with it, muting it, pressing other bits. You know what I mean? Just messing around with it, having some fun with it, man. That's what you need to do. So again, play the drum solo, and then as it's playing, don't mess with it too much, alright? But go through your tracks, let the drums change up a little bit by adding a little bit, by cutting out your snare, by cutting out your kick, and then dropping it back in, going to that low pass, because I'm recording the low pass here, going through it, cutting some of it out, doing some dropouts, going back in it, letting it play, just making it dynamic. You know what I'm saying? And when you do that, you'll end up with a whole track that's being jammed, all right? They're the two things that you need to do, all right? Okay, we're ready to record. I'm going to hit the record button, and I'm going to do this. All right, so it's all synced up. I've got it all there. I'm going to make sure that I'm playing just the drum solo. All right, so we can we could record and mix it all together. I'm gonna hit that record button there. All right, here we go. That was 4 bars. And now we're ready to bring in the bass. The beat doesn't feel exciting at the moment because there's not heaps of stuff going on. Do you know what I'm saying? But I could do a dropout right now. Going to my drums, adding an extra snare right here. See what I mean? Alright, man, so that's all done. You see that? Looks nice and beautiful, man. They're all done. Sometimes I was doing some cutouts there, you know what I mean? Little bits and pieces, changing it up. Now I'm gonna lay the main one, this one. Now I've got the samples there, and I've also got a couple of pads, which is part of the sample itself. So I'm gonna use those bits and pieces, right? And it's gonna sound a little bit awkward here, but I'm gonna play the instrumental. All right, it's gonna be synced up. Then I'm gonna mute this, and during the take, I'm going to jam little bits and pieces, right? I'm going to jam with it a little bit, all right? And that's what I'm going to do because it's only 2.5 minutes and we want to make it, you know, kind of exciting, all right? So let's do that. All right, so this is for all you cats who haven't got multiple outputs or you haven't got the MIDI to allow you to trigger. What you can do is this. Record yourself the drums, just like we've recorded, right? Doesn't matter when it starts. Just record yourself the drums. Set the BPMs, all right? You'll see that you've formed yourself the little grid. Go in there, slice it right when your drums start. Bring it over to the bar, right? Bring it over. Not a problem. Then what we're going to do is you're going to play your drums, right, like this. And right when, because you've counted yourself in, right, you then hit that play button, man, right on it. You can do this. Let me just show you this. Let me just show you this. Count yourself in. You know what I'm saying? Just count yourself in, man. And you won't have any problems at all, man. Alright? I'm doing that right now. See that? I didn't use the MIDI to trigger it in, man. The drums are there. You don't need it. It's still going to record a big fat thing like that. You know what I mean? You start it up. That's all I've done. So I'm just going to let that play for a bit. See that? Bit of soft touch there, you know what I mean? Let it play through a little bit. Maybe, you know, I like my delay. Again, soft touch. Jamming. come in now. So man, jamming, just jamming. This I'm actually doing a take. This will end up on the beat tape. You know what I mean? Let it be. Just let it be. Don't be perfect, man. Be natural. Alright, that's enough. That's it. Congratulations. The beat's bounced. You know what I mean? You did well. It's all there. Now, we're gonna have to set them up, man. What I need to do is go there, hit that save button. Make sure you hit the save button. You know what I mean? Nowadays, I guess it's got like the auto saving that, but this is very old. This is some old school shit. And back in the days, you used to have a memory of your own, right? So hit that save button. Okay, guys. So that's basically it for this episode. All right, for this episode, I have to. I mean, you've just sat through and watched me bounce one track. I need to do it for another 15. All right, well, another 14 or 13 tracks, right? It is time consuming. If you've got kids, put them to bed and then, you know, do it on your headphones, because you're not mixing. You can do this stuff late at night. You could do this whenever you can, all right? That's basically how you bounce. Just remember, try run as many outputs as you can into your sound card. Use MIDI to trigger it so everything's synchronized. If you can't use MIDI, bounce some drums first so you got your tempo, you got your feel, and then come in individually. You know what I mean? Count yourself in individually. Remember the 2 rules when you're bouncing. The 2 rules being, put drum solo at the start, and make sure that you jam the different tracks within your 2.5 minutes, right? If it goes to 3 minutes, not a problem, man. But remember, drums first, jam a little bit, have a little bit of fun with it. Once you've done that, don't mix. Don't start mixing, all right? Move on. It's about numbers here, right? You're trying to get through 15. If you start mixing, you'll get bogged down. You don't want to do that. You want to do all the mixing. You want to do it in groups. You want to chunk the work in progress, right? Your workflow. Okay, guys? So next week, what I'll do is we'll do a crash. Hopefully I'll have all the beats bounced, and what we'll do is a crash course on mixing. Now, I've done some basic mixing videos before, but what we're gonna do is we're gonna get them all ready really quickly in a unified manner to go into the SP404 for some mixing. I'll do a 2-part video. We'll do some basic mixing to put it in the SP404, and then once we've got them in the SP404, I'll show you how to actually do some mixing tricks on it, just for a bit of fun, a little bit of knowledge, but also to get you thinking about how you mix, as in DJ mix, your different tracks. And I don't mean these tracks, I mean songs, you know what I'm saying? Instrumentals. How you could do that, how we can do that in the set, getting ready for that first listen. All right? I think the first listen should be its own week. All right? So next week, we'll come back. We'll do the mixing, real basic mixing, put it in the machine. I'll run through a couple of different styles of blending songs and doing that sort of stuff, man, all right? We can do that on the fly, you know what I mean? But it'll be a lot of fun getting ready for our big first listen, all right? Just to get our good impression, all right? All right, guys, peace, take care of yourselves, all right? Hit that subscribe button, please share, you know what I mean? Get people involved in the project, man. Again, thank you for everybody who's been contributing, leaving comments, doing all that. I left a few questions out there in the open about the mixing. If you guys spot that there are things either wrong or ways that you could improve on things that you've come across, leave those comments there in the what do you call it, in the comment section, man. Don't just openly just diss and do, you know what I mean? It's mixing, it's a process here, all right? All right, guys, so peace, take care of yourselves, still smoking crack, and be good.